Ever wondered which singers have the most monthly listeners? Today, we'll take you on a journey exploring the top 25 Jewish singers with the most monthly listeners. If you've been watching this channel, you'll know that recently we made a video on the top 15 Jewish singers with the most monthly listeners. But since you guys love that so much, we decided to make a top 25 list. Now, before we get into the video, we just wanted to ask that you please smash the like button. These videos take a lot of research and we would really appreciate if you could smash the button. Thank you. Now, let's get into the video. Before we start, we just want to explain. The term monthly listeners refers to the amount of people that are consistently listening to a specific singer on a monthly basis. For example, if a singer releases a new song or album, they will likely get more monthly listeners during that time period. The question is which singers can continue to bring listeners back to their music on a monthly basis. Now, it's important to note as well that the numbers in this video are taken at time of recording and are based off Spotify only and not any other streaming platforms. With that being said, let's start this list. In 25th place, we have David Haziza with 3,591 monthly listeners. David is a relatively new singer with only 3 singles to date, so this number is relatively high. Next, in 24th place, we have Simcha Leiner with 6,471 monthly listeners. Then in 23rd, we have David Perlman with 8,379 monthly listeners. Now we do know that David is about to release his album, so expect this number to rise dramatically when this occurs. In 22nd place, we have Danny Palagon with 9,528 monthly listeners. Danny released his first album only last year, but has his second one coming already. Another album would probably push Danny up into the top 20. In 21st place, we have Duvi Shapiro with 9,833 monthly listeners. Duvi only has 3 singles, but they each did incredibly well. The 3 songs have hundreds of thousands of views together, and when Duvi releases an album, he too will rise on this list. Next, in 20th place, we have David Lowy with 11,622 monthly listeners. In 19th place, we have Lipa Schmelzer with 15,095 monthly listeners. Following that, in 18th place, we have Moshe Tischler with 18,539 monthly listeners. Moshe is relatively new to the music industry, and to get this high of a number just goes to show how much people like his music. In 17th place, Michal Przansky with 21,156 monthly listeners, just below the 16th place singer. Speaking of which, in 16th place we have Joey Newcomb with 21,585 monthly listeners. He did just release an album, so we will have to see if he keeps these numbers up. And now, moving on from that, we have the official top 15. At number 15, we have Nachas with 22,865 monthly listeners. This number is relatively high considering that he hasn't released an album in a while. Next up is number 14, Eli Marcus with 23,236 monthly listeners. Eli is just behind the singer above him by only a few hundred. Then at number 13, we have Uri Davidi at 23,714 monthly listeners. Uri already released 2 albums and has a third one on the way soon. His latest album was quite a hit, especially the title song, Muchanim, which already has over 500,000 plays on Spotify. Barely making the number 12 spot is Shmuley Unger with 23,815 monthly listeners. Only 101 more than Uri in 13th place. Shmuley released his new album recently, so these numbers may get a boost soon. Now, the first singer on this list with over 25,000 is number 11, Yoni Z. Yoni has 25,411 monthly listeners and keeps inching closer and closer to the number 10 spot. Yoni has a lot of new music coming, including a song with Danny Palagon, so he will probably take a spot soon. Barely hanging into the top 10 is Ari Goldwag with 25,646 monthly listeners. Ari has been a long-time singer and songwriter, and strangely enough, a lot of the songs that he writes are sold to other singers and end up doing better than some of his own. Ari did recently release his latest album, Yesh Li Hakol, but is still only barely hanging on to 10th place. At number 9, we have 8th Day with 33,280 monthly listeners. 8th Day is due for an album, and we hear that they have one in the works. The numbers are high already and should receive a nice boost once the new album is released. Coming in at number 8 is Baruch Levine with 33,803 monthly listeners. Baruch's latest album, Off the Record, is still relatively new, so we'll see if these numbers improve in the future. At number 7, we have Eitan Katz with 39,606 monthly listeners. This comes as kind of a shocker, as Eitan Katz isn't even in our top 15 Jewish singers list, yet he's still getting a lot of listens. Coming in at number 6, we have MBD, the first singer to break the 40,000 mark, but only barely doing so, with 40,303 monthly listeners. For quite some time, MBD has been considered the king of Jewish music, but he hasn't been so active in the industry in recent years. Still, 6th place is nothing to complain about. Before we get to the top 5, we'd quickly like to ask you to tap that like button. It takes just a second and helps us a lot. Thank you. Coming in at number 5 is a top 5 singer, Simcha Leiner. Simcha has 46,654 monthly listeners. Simcha is well known for his slow songs, including Ribono, one of his greatest hits of all time. A new album from him is said to be in the works, but it may take some time until it comes out. Coming in at number 4, we have Mordechai Shapiro with 49,548 monthly listeners, just missing out on that 50,000 mark. Morty has only been making solo albums since 2016, and has since grown to be in the top 3 shortlist. Morty is especially known for his music videos, but also for a lot of his songs, many of which have a unique style. Coming in at number 3, we have Benny Friedman with 59,796 monthly listeners. Benny is almost at the 60,000 mark. He has many hit songs, some of which were in fact composed by Ari Goldwag. Benny's latest album isn't that new, but he still isn't overdue for a new album. Coming in at number 2, we have Avram Fried, just above Benny Friedman, his nephew. Although Avram hasn't released an album anytime recently, he is still going strong, having released several slow singles throughout the course of the last few years. And now, on to number 1. At number 1, we have Yaakov Shweki. Shweki has a whopping 134,010 monthly listeners, and is constantly growing. This number is more than double the second place total of Avram Fried. That's insane! Shweki is also overdue for an album, so those numbers are still pretty high. At the rate Shweki is growing, no singer can even beat his numbers in the next 3 years according to our projections. Even the fastest growing singer, Mordechai Shapiro, won't even come close for the next few years. Now, if you're watching this in 2021 or later, the numbers on this list may have changed and we will probably be releasing an updated video. So subscribe so you find out when we do. Thanks for watching.